So, Canada, things are going great.
The old relationship we had with the United States, based on deepening integration of our economies and tight security and military cooperations, is over. What exactly the United States does next is unclear. But what is clear is that we, as Canadians, have agency. We have power. We are masters in our own home. Nous sommes maîtres chez nous. We can control our destiny. We can give ourselves much more than any foreign government, including the United States, can ever take away. We can deal with this crisis best by building our strength right here at home. It will take hard work. It will take steady and focused determination from governments, from businesses, from labor, from Canadians.
If he wins in a sweep, or at the very least by a significant margin, that kind of locks Canada in as a true oppositional power for for a long time. Dude, it's never going to go back to the way it was. Not in our lifetimes, at least. It's crazy. A guy bought the election, and now, we're getting multipolarity and global protectionism, man.
We will need to dramatically reduce our reliance on the United States. We will need to pivot our trade relationships elsewhere.
I really don't know what to make of their statements about their phone call. What are you referring to, Jumpfall? What phone call?
And we will need to do things previously thought impossible at speeds we haven't seen in generations.
Yeah, the polling has shifted quite a bit, that's for sure. Apparently they had a great phone call. Mark Carney, Trump phone call. Trump tones down his rhetoric about Canada after call with Carney. In fairness, isn't Trump like Joe Rogan, where he basically just ends up agreeing with the last person he talked to? Remember when he had a conversation with Scheinbaum, and literally the same day he was like, well, actually, we're not going to apply tariffs to anything that follow the USMCA, import-export guidelines, which is 99% of the shit coming in and out of Mexico. It seems like he's in this push and pull where he'll talk with a leader and wheel and deal, by which I mean he'll enter the weave with them. And then at the end of it, he's like, oh, they're a great guy. And then he spends 5 minutes being talked to by Elon, and he's like, oh, right, we're trying to crash the economy. He keeps zigzagging. Mark Carney's aggressive in one-on-one convos. He was known in the UK for verbally demolishing people who try to convince him to do dumb shit. I don't know if it could be that. It could be the weave. Do you really think they're trying to crash the economy? Yeah, I think they're trying to do it in a specific way. But yeah, I do think that is the goal. Functionally, would there be any difference at all between what Trump and his cohorts are doing right now in this timeline, or if they were some kind of oppositional Manchurian candidate who were activated by a code word on Inauguration Day and then began destroying the country from within? What difference would there be? The president used Mr. Carney's proper title and his given name. After offering positive comments online, the president later suggested to reporters that Canada was not among the nations he believed to have treated the U.S. unfairly in trade. What? He's been going on and on about that for months. $200 billion subsidies or whatever. I think this is Joe Rogan syndrome. I genuinely think that Trump has the water brain of a child, and he can just be convinced into basically anything by a person who knows how to apply selective flattery. I don't think that Carney would have verbally obliterated him, though, because Trump gets really standoffish when he's being confronted, Again, it's like talking to a kid. He loves Putin, though. Yeah, because Putin probably flatters the out of him. Can you imagine? There's no way he doesn't. In one-on-one conversations, Putin 100% is just laying it on, Absolutely. Catastrophic. Canadian bookings for U.S. travel dropped sharply. Yeesh. Dropped 6.4%. Oh, that's not so much. Wait, hold on. The number of Canadian residents returning from trips to the U.S. has dropped 6.4%, seasonally adjusted data. That's not counting any trends that may have emerged following U.S. import tariffs activating in early March. One industry monitor recently found the demand for Canada-U.S. flights has collapsed, with cross-border bookings down more than 70%. Huh. That's pretty significant. That seems like a lot. Yeah, I saw Air Canada struggling so bad right now. I guess we'll see how things go. Do you think JD Vance just didn't get the memo when it comes to their phone call?
The tariffs. There's been some retaliation, some signals at least in the media that Canada is going to respond. Some of these others are going to respond to the president's tariffs. What's your message for Americans that are going to see costs increase on auto manufacturing, new cars, that kind of thing? Is it Buy America, or what's the message going forward there?
Well, let me say a couple of things. First of all, for the Canadians, and we have many dear friends in Canada, and of course we love the Canadian people, but the Canadian leadership threatening retaliatory tariffs against the United States, as President Trump often says, they just don't have the cards. There is no way that Canada can win a trade war with the United States. What President Trump has said is that he wants to level the playing field.
And then the phone call happened right after this, right? Yeah, this was March 28th. This was early on March 28th, and the phone call happened like right after or at around the same time. They're gonna be back to the antagonism soon. Also, think of it from a political perspective, right? Mark Carney, the only reason he has a shot at being PM is because of the oppositional stuff between America and Canada. Being anti-America or being anti-Trump as president in America, whatever, that's kind of like the electoral ticket for the Canadian Liberals right now. So hopefully they keep running with it. We have to watch that full broadcast from Greenland, by the way, because we got to talk about that. We got to talk about that, okay? A Federal Reserve Bank is now projecting the U.S. GDP growth rate is negative 2.8% in the first quarter of 2025. That would be pretty bad. It's just a prediction. Federal Reserve Bank, let's see, negative 2.8% first quarter. Give me the info. Which bank? Why don't they ever link? They never link. Oh, here we go. On March 3rd, the GDP Now model estimate for real GDP growth in the first quarter of 2025 is negative 2.8%. Okay, the GDP Now model from the Federal Reserve Bank of Atlanta, but that's on March 3rd. That's not necessarily recent. I wonder if things have changed. We're pretty much at the end of the first quarter period now. We're not going to get the numbers for another month. I don't know. You know, they've said the reason why the reciprocal tariffs are kicking in April 2nd, or allegedly kicking in on April 2nd, is because that way the decline in the market that we'll see as a consequence of them won't be reflected in the first quarter results. Because if they do it April 2nd, they're just after the cutoff for the first quarter report. So when the first quarter report gets publicized, you don't see the effects of it for a while. It's going to be lower than negative 2.8%. Negative 2.8% would be hugely bad. That would be like catastrophically bad. That would be really, 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 really bad. I don't think it's been negative in my lifetime. It has, COVID, but that'd be pretty bad. Yeah. Yeah, you have to go back to COVID to find anything like that. Right here, you had that one big quarter, and then things recovered pretty quickly. Thank you, Biden. Atlanta Fed GDP Now estimate. Gold adjusted GDP Now. I'm not econ pilled enough to understand what the gold adjusted GDP Now 2025 first quarter estimate means. So they've been ballparking it in this direction for a while. Basically, it's because the USD is tanked. I got to do some international travel before our currency is worth less than the paper it's printed on. Quick question, why are Dems performing better in low turnout races? My belief is that because Republicans are a Trumpist cult, like that's their model. The reason Republicans do well in presidential elections is because they show up and then vote down ticket. And they'll do it in the midterms sometimes, but not as much, which explains why we overperformed in 2022. I think that it's mostly just like they need their marching orders. Conservatives don't have as much of a drive to the special elections. And I think that Dems overperform in special elections because doing well in a special election mostly means like on the ball ground game, you know, get out there, inform people, da-da-da. But that's usually a local grassroots effort, right? It's not like, it's not the same as like, you know, reclining in your chair, getting a drip feed of Fox News 11 hours a day and just being like bombarded with, you know, the national messaging about the necessity of voting Republican in these elections. But there's some variance there. MAGA is 100% a cult of personality, yeah. And I really do think the reason why they've been gassing Elon up so much is because they're trying to prepare him to take charge. I'm not going to I don't know whether they're going to try to like push for a law to make it legal for him to be president, or if they're just going to say like, you know, he's not actually the president, he's just like the advisor to President JD Vance or whatever. But I think that they're, in terms of like the cult, they're trying to transfer the cult of personality from Trump to him. The actual like legitimate position he has is almost irrelevant. What matters is the power he has. He still has that power despite not currently being president. So, Adolf Hitler. That's facts. That's so true.